not live. Where does it?
Says live. All right, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Community Driven, where we are live with one of our community members. I have Mr. Soloman Blevins here with me today. Can't wait to introduce you to Soloman. Thank you so much for joining us today. We are at our grand studios at 5200 Oaklawn Boulevard in North Prince George. Soloman, thank you so much for being here today.
You're welcome, Kevin.
I appreciate you very much. Soloman, you and I and our family, we kind of go back a little ways with you and your wife and you being in the military. And maybe we'll get into that story. We don't have to necessarily, but this it's not about that. The reason why I've asked you here today and I want to introduce you to our community, to people, is all the good work that you and your wife and y'all do in the community, in particular with the military community. So I really want you to share with them the things that you're doing in that area. But before we do that, give us a little bit of background on you and who you are and your past in the military and all those different things.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, my name is Soloman Blevins. Saw first class retired, Quartermaster Logistician. I was a 92 Alpha. But telling my age, I was a 76 X-ray back in 1988, right here at Fort Lee, now Fort Greg Adams.
Wow.
So that's why I was here in 1988.
Wow.
As a 76 X-ray.
Just
subsistence.
Just to let you know, I was only 5 years old then. So.
I'm still young, but it was good. I was subsistence, dealing with the food, and then once they converted over to the 92 Alpha series, they made it an automated logistics specialist, but still doing the job as a 76, right, doing the food. And so did that for several years when they transitioned to 92 Alpha as a logistician, and so did that for just yesterday in a town hall. It's been 40 years.
Wow.
Been serving in the military and the government. And so looking back at the military, it was kind of a tool, being in the military as a logistician. And I had a guy when I was in Louisiana, when my wife was here, we was here, the impact of us being there, but he shared with me real simple words. We just met at the airport, and he was just sharing the training that I got in the military would impact me.
Yeah.
Afterwards, it was just training and preparing me,
Yeah.
For a time like this.
So tell me, give me some of the biggest lessons that you think you've learned in the military and things that have kind of shaped and formed your direction in life.
And so one of the key pieces was understanding, when you look at some of the values, and that's some of the key pieces of some of the values that the military have. Yeah. And if you really do some research, and I did research on some of the values and how it goes back, and it kind of goes back to where we're at now, but the values of leadership, loyalty, duty, respect, some of the key pieces was foundational with the military, but they're really life lessons. And so one of those pieces was I had a platoon sergeant that he always said, do the right thing. And if he didn't say anything else, he always said, do the right thing, mercy by all means. That was his piece, was kind of sharing with us that whatever it is we do in the military, is to make sure we do the right thing. Yeah. And so that was that stamp, that we still talk. To this day, he texts me every day, or he'll call and we're talking, and we're laughing and joking. And remember how when I was young, and I was just kind of wild, but I had a lot of energy to get stuff done. And so he's kind of drawn to that because I wanted to get it done. And so, but that foundational piece of understanding the character of the military piece, and it kind of helped. So that was kind of the less point of my 3-year mark. Ran into him, and that kind of helped me with my leadership going forward, because that foundational piece that he was able to pour into me and a lot of the other soldiers. And so it was fun, and so he made it fun. He didn't make it boring, but he made it fun so that we could learn. So he was hard, but he was fair, but he kept it simple. He didn't make it so hard and so complicated. From a young soldier, 22 years old, and hey, well, we did it this way back then, this way. He was kind of open, to okay, here you are, okay. So give me your ideas. So that was good.
I share this story with my team here a lot, that I have a buddy who grew his insurance company, and I asked him what he did to do that, and he said I just do the right things every day. And I was like, man, it's so simple but profound, just like what you're talking about. just do the right thing and live by that, loyalty and honor. And, it's simple but profound.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's what the guy shared with me here. That was in 2004
Uh-huh.
in Louisiana,
Uh-huh.
sitting there at the airport. Real
That's
simple, real simple words. The guy was like, well, we don't know who this guy is. This guy's like almost 80. He was like 80. He was like 80 years old.
Uh-huh.
But just met him and his wife at the airport, and then coming back to Louisiana, we was at the airport again.
Yeah.
At the same time frame, 5 days later. And so that was a key piece. While I was down here in Louisiana, it was real simple words. It wasn't a whole bunch of words. Real simple.
Yeah.
But just shared that wisdom with that.
That's great. That's great. So, how long were you actually in the military active duty?
So active duty, 1988. So I was in active duty. I was in 21 and a half, almost 22 years active duty. And prior to that, I was in the Army National Guard prior to that. So a total of 25 years.
25 years.
25 years total.
Wow.
Of being in there. Doing that.
And what tours have you done?
And so my first tour was Fort Hood, Texas, Fort Cavanosa, with our 1st Cavalry Division, Wagon Masters. And that's where I really learned my job as far as dealing with food in garrison and also in the field. And so I stayed in the desert, learning how to do all of that stuff.
Wow.
So that was a practical piece. And then from there, I went to Egypt.
Oh, wow.
So I was in Egypt, and I got selected to go to Egypt, special assignment in Egypt. And that was totally different. I was in Sinai, Egypt, multinational force observers, where it was 13 different countries there. And so you're able to see from their perspective and being able to work with them. And so they had 2 camps in different locations. So I was there. So I did the food there. So I was in charge of all the dry food. And so my key piece was taking the food was I would never starve.
Yeah.
That was my piece. I'm gonna always gonna eat good. I ain't gonna never starve because I got food. And so it was that one. And then from there I went to Fort Drum, New York, where I was there in '83 when it was called Camp Drum, New York. When it was just camp and a lot of dirt.
Yep.
And then here it is, 1991, 92. Now I'm going there as Camp Drum. And so I was at Camp Drum for almost 7, 8 years straight.
Wow.
Doing because once they transitioned MOS to 92 Alpha, well, they still needed the capability for 76 Gathering subsistence. So I was still doing the food piece. There was kind of only 2 of us like being on the post. So enjoyed that when we deployed to be able to do that. And then from there, went from Fort Drum, went to Korea.
Okay.
And so it was totally different. And so when I got to Korea, I ended up going to a signal unit. So it's kind of taking me out of light infantry into a signal unit. And so it's kind of different. And so when I got there at the signal unit, it was a transition in my military life.
Yeah.
Where I had to reprioritize some things in Korea. And so I had to reprioritize some things of what's more important, the job, the military, you know what I mean? And at that time, didn't have any family, but that was just kind of a transition point for me, almost like my mid-year mark. It was like, okay, which direction are you going? Where are you going?
Yeah.
My military career, whole 9 yards. And so that was kind of a transition point for me to see, okay, am I going to stay in? Am I going to get out? You know what I mean? So it was that piece. And so being there, I started doing things and helping a lot of the young soldiers there at that point.
Yeah.
And so we ended up taking train somebody to drive a bus, didn't have a bus license. To be able to drive in Korea was challenging, but he got the license. I learned it. It was a stick, but it was 50 of us that we took, young soldiers, and took them on a trip in Korea, just to see the country, to get out. With me not knowing, we started to do that. It was kind of changing my life, and my perspective on life,
Direction.
give a different direction on that. And so I did,
which is carried on after the military.
Yeah, and it's kind of more profound even now after the military, not knowing that. And so did that, ended up going back to, they was telling me I was going back to Fort Hood. And I was like, hey, I kind of already wore this shirt. Give me something different, right? And the only difference I said, well, you can send me back to Fort Drum. So I ended up going back to Fort Drum, New York. And then that's where I met my wife at.
Oh, wow.
At Fort Drum, New York.
Wow.
Well, she was just coming back from Egypt.
Wow.
The same location I was at 8, 9 years before.
That's neat.
And so met her there at Fort Drum, New York. And then that's where we got married at. And then we had the opportunity to go to either Hawaii or Alaska.
Mm-hmm.
My wife's like, well, can I pick which one? And I was like, and then you can pick the next one. I was like, okay. And so she chose Alaska. And so we ended up going to Alaska.
Wow.
You know, and everybody's like, well, it's cold up there. We're going to Alaska. And so we went to Alaska, and that just continued on as we got married. A transition for us, you know, as a couple,
Yeah.
you know, with a 6-month-old child.
Wow.
Going up to Alaska and driving all the way up the Alaskan Highway and get there without a broken windshield.
Wow.
You know, it's kind of unknown during that time frame.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
gravel. Now I hear it's pavement.
Uh-huh.
But to get up there in Alaska, and then we got there, and we were just eager to learn.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? For, you know, not just for the military, but for our lives as a new married couple.
Yeah.
And a 6-month-old child. Give us the direction,
Yeah.
how we're going to go. And so some of those things that I learned in the military, you know, I was able to apply to my personal life.
Yeah.
You know, for my family. Okay, here's some foundational pieces, some tools that we can use to help raise our children.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? In a different way, and not so much in a box.
Yeah.
And so it was kind of profound when I sit today and look at that, and it's just leaving me speechless.
Yeah.
You know, so we did 3 years there. We tried to stay in Alaska, but we got what we needed there. And so our pastor was like, "No, it's time for y'all to go. Y'all got it."
Mm.
And so from that, we were kind of kicked out of Alaska. It was time for us to go and really go do mission and do the mission that we're supposed to do.
Yeah.
And leaving there, we ended up coming to Virginia.
Wow.
And I was like, "Hey, can I get at least one place where I can just kind of relax? You know, kind of.
Yeah, yeah.
I've been going for almost 18 years.
Yeah,
you know, kind of.
yeah.
Can I get something? You know, and so I ended up coming here, teaching 92 Alphas, AIT students right here.
Wow.
The automated logistics system.
Okay.
With that piece, so it was fun. You know what I mean? Because everybody wonder, how do you have all the energy?
Yeah.
And you still have all this energy now.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? You know, but when you have the right perspective, it's not like it's now it's energy drinks.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
some things are just natural.
Yeah.
That just happen. And so did the teaching there for a while. I enjoyed it.
Mhm.
You know, teaching during the daytime, nighttime. You know what I mean? And at the same time, sharing nuggets of my military career with the young ones.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Here's this what can help you. Here's this what can help you in your military career.
So you end up retiring in 2009?
I ended up retiring. So I was at Fort Polk, and so I retired from Fort Polk. But they sent me here to do my last 2 weeks.
Okay.
To retire out of here because my family was already here.
Okay.
And so I retired in 2008,
2008.
right here.
Okay.
Uh,
2008.
2008, right here.
Gotcha.
And so it was kind of good because my family was already here.
Uh-huh.
Everybody was already settled.
Yeah.
And so it was kind of good right here with that piece.
Wow. And just decided to stay in this area. And it's interesting, you know, think about all the places that you've been and where you could have ended up. And the fact that you ended up in here in Virginia and in our community. And I think that happens for a reason. And you've been able to carry on your experiences from military and everything you've learned, the people who poured into you, and you carried on, and now you are actively pouring into other people as well. So tell us a little bit about that. What are you involved in now?
So we got a whole lot going on.
Mhm.
But one thing we we started last week doing prison ministry.
Mm-hmm.
And so we go into the prison and we do Bible lessons. And so I was sharing with Anna earlier, sharing with them and then seeing the transition of them sharing with somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's almost like they're, you know, what they've learned, they're sharing. You know, I said, because eventually you're going to get out.
Yeah.
And so what are you going to do when you get out?
Yeah.
I said, so you don't want to miss out on the process while you're here.
Yeah.
I mean, you can complain or you can capture,
Turn it into
turn to something positive.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And so a lot of those is kind of like, it's like a wildfire. It's kind of catching
Mm-hmm.
what they're catching because they're getting this experience that I have, but also with the biblical foundation.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it's kind of practical.
Yeah.
You know, just practical talk, regular conversation.
Yeah.
You know, that they understand. So it's not way above their head. And
Yeah.
It's not all this, just practical conversation, so they understand that. And based on my background and how I grew up in the inner city and different places like that, it's just practical. Here's this. Here's the word.
Yeah.
You know, and actually, well, how did you get to this point?
Yeah.
I said I was just obedient.
Yeah.
Learn to be obedient. You know what I mean? I learned in the military. You get a command, all you do is execute. Go do it.
Yeah.
I said, so it's the same way now. You get a command, you can go right or you go left, or you just go do and get it done.
Yep.
And so they're kind of doing that in the prison, and they're growing, and you're seeing a lot of them are getting out based off of taking their focus on why this is this, but they're getting the principles, and then some of them are getting out, and it's just that, and they're going out in the community, and you're seeing some get out and starting their own businesses.
That's awesome.
Of the stuff they learn, but they have a foundation.
Yeah.
So that when they go back out in the community,
Yeah.
Ran into one of them that has his own HVAC business.
That's awesome.
You know what I mean? And so do that. But also we do a men's retreat, man after God's own heart.
Okay. Yeah.
Off Acts 13,
Yeah.
And when you look at David,
Yeah.
and, he wasn't perfect.
Yeah. Absolutely.
He wasn't perfect at all. But to be able to see how he kind of captured some of those things for himself, even though he had all this stuff going on, he realized, what, if I can't do anything else, what can I do to help to make it better?
Yeah.
And so he understood, okay, I'm gonna follow the command, I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
And so it was real simple, you know what I mean? Yeah. And he wasn't so grateful. So to be able to do that, you can see this is from this year, the young men and everybody come, how we just come and get together.
And these are predominantly people in military, former military. Is that
No,
right? Or is it a little bit of everything?
It's some just graduated from college.
Okay.
That come from Norfolk, Virginia Beach.
Okay.
Only 2 of them in their military.
Okay.
Outside of me, the rest of them are. It's just different ones come and
different
they hear about it from somebody else, and then they want to come and be able to experience for themselves. And so a lot of young ones have been coming.
Okay.
Last year,
awesome.
and it was based off of they were in the choir with my youngest daughter.
I got you.
And so she kind of saw that, and they came, and then they got something, and then the other young ones came, and so it's just kind of like it's kind of going on its own.
Yeah.
Because it's order.
Yeah.
Based on the military structure, it's kind of there.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's there.
Yeah.
And you can tell when you get there, the structure is there, the foundation is there, and so you get in there, and so it's kind of impacting where they understand what the vision is for Man After God's Own Heart, which is basically Acts 13 and 22.
Yeah.
And then they see there's no set structure or how it goes. It's just there, and whatever happens goes that way. So this year, the young men that were there last year was able to pour into not just the young ones, but all of us,
Awesome.
and what they got last year. And so it's kind of important because then now they're able to take that back to their communities and be able to impact, whether they're at Virginia Beach or up in Richmond or Chester, be able to impact. And so kind of life changing to be able to see that, how it's impacting the next generation, but also they're impacting the older ones because they're looking and thinking, well, how they're only 22.
Yep.
So you're looking, well, what was I when I was 22?
That's what I've always appreciated about you, Solomon, is it's not about what you're doing. It's about the impact that you can have on others so they can go have an impact. That's what you've always cared about. That's always I've always admired that about you. And speaking of impact, your daughter, was it both daughter or just one daughter? I can't remember.
One daughter.
One daughter is carrying on the family tradition of military service, having that impact, passing that on. Tell us about her a little bit real quick.
So her started right here as a little girl, and my wife works on Fort Greg Adams at the CASCOM headquarters. And so her first duty assignment was running around playing under the desk and in the things, and playing in the same area my wife worked at. So that was her first duty station. But what she said was afterwards was that she kind of watched us and seen us. Yep. And I kind of told her, hey, don't go into the military, go to college. Yep. And so she did the college 2 years. She said, okay, Daddy, I got that. But now this is what I have to do, and this is what God told me to do. This is what I got to do. And so to see her in, she's only been in 5 years, and strategically how he's putting her where she's at in 5 years. You sit back and look, and you're like, wow, is that you or is it her? Because for her to be 25, but have those foundational pieces as a young person, to be able to go and be able to lead. So now she's impacting young ladies. She said, I never thought they would look at me like that, but impacting for where she's at in her generation. Yeah.
And you have set up a legacy of impact. Like it's obviously through your family, but just through how you and your wife, how y'all move in this world. It's the desire to impact those around you is evident to all. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, that's just kind of the piece was just kind of happened on its own, but it's just our heart.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And realize that's part of our calling.
Yep.
Is to be able to impact wherever it is we go. And so she does that over for Greg Adams on a daily basis.
That's great.
And so she's giving back from her service as well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Because she decided to get out,
Yep.
raise kids, and she's still giving back now. 16 years at Greg Adams.
That's great.
Impacting soldiers here.
All right, I got 3 questions for you here that at the end, and we're gonna finish this up.
Okay.
So, question number 1. I like to always try to develop myself and grow and find ways that I can become a better version of myself all the time. And I do a lot of reading or listening to books. If you had a book recommendation, something that you would say, you got to read this book, listen to this book, it's impacted my life, what would you recommend?
The best book that I got is the Bible.
Well,
The Bible.
Yeah.
So you knew I was going to
I
say
knew
that.
you were.
That's
I knew
the
you
best
were.
book. And so I was just sharing with Miss Francis and because we were talking about that, and I was telling her there are versions of the Bible that are practical.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That you can get a better understanding because she was telling me
Yeah.
I was trying to understand those names, and so I gave her here's the practical Bible that you can read.
Yeah, absolutely.
That it gives it to your regular language.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You know, you still got the King James, but this one was kind of practical.
Yeah.
And she was like, wrote it down. She said, that's kind of good. And that kind of gives you the guidance. You know what I mean? And that's the main foundational piece. You know, you have a lot of other books, you know, with that, but that's the main foundational piece.
Yeah.
That as you're reading and you're asking for guidance, you'll get guidance so that we don't put our trust in anybody else.
Yeah.
We know we get it straight from the source.
Yeah.
And it makes it easier.
Yep.
You know, especially when you're impacting the world.
Yep.
So it's not based off of my opinion or your opinion,
Yep.
or anybody else's opinion, but it's based off the truth.
Yeah.
And that's the best book that we can have. All the other books, they're good, they're enhancements with that, but you have to go back to the source.
Yep.
That's the main one right there.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? I'm just saying.
No,
I'm just
That's
saying.
good.
I'm just saying.
I figured that was going to be it.
I'm just saying. You know, when you say what he say, you know what I mean? It makes it a lot easier
Yeah.
how it impacts the world. You say what he say, you know what I mean? That makes it simple.
Yep.
That takes our opinion on what we think about what's going on in the world and our communities.
Yep.
And then able to impact, and you're able to see growth and development. And then you're able to see the seed that was planted, and then somebody else will water it, and you see the fruit, you know, later on. So these kind of, those practical pieces,
Yep.
that's how it grows.
Yep.
That's it.
So you have the world's attention. All right, let's just say Soloman Blevins has the world's attention, and you got a minute to give them something, to give them the best wisdom and experience that you can give them in a minute. What would you say?
And you said wisdom, and my name just happened to be Solomon. And I'm not King Solomon. You know what I mean? And so now my hands are sweating. You know what I mean? I'm like, okay, wow, what can I share? And so what I can share with the world right now, you know, that's going to impact the world right now is the foundational piece of going back to the foundational piece of what it is. And that goes back to my favorite book, which is the Bible. And when you go back to the foundational pieces, it kind of guides us on where we at, where we can go, right? Because it's about a relationship. And so it's just like the relationship that me and Kevin have here, we're talking, well, it's a relationship that we have with God. And so we got to have that foundational piece, but we got to be practical and understand so we don't get caught in a box. And this is how it is, this is how it is. But the practical piece of understanding people and being able, and so I've learned that even though I'm older, I'm able to adapt because you have younger people and they want to be able to learn, and how is God going to use something totally different to be able to draw them in. And so he just kind of gives us different unique ways to be able to reach those young men that you see or young ladies, you know, wherever we go. And so it's kind of important because people are watching the example that you are, and you might not say anything, but they're watching to see. You say you are a Christian, but then they're watching the action, the things that come out of your mouth. And so words are powerful of what we say. And so I've learned as I got older, it's sometimes just to be quiet. And when you learn to be quiet, you can really hear some things because there's a whole lot of noise going on. Yeah. And you can listen to a whole bunch of noise, you know what I mean? Yeah. Or you can really be quiet in a quiet, still place and be able to say, wow, did I hear that? Was that me? But then you understand that's their relationship piece. Yeah. So that's what I can give in 1 minute. You know what I mean? That takes you right back to the center point for that.
All right, last question. What's your dream car?
My dream car. Oh my goodness. So he asked me my dream car. but I don't have a dream car. I'm driving in my dream truck.
The dream truck.
I'm driving in the dream truck. So he don't know I know that now. He's riding in it now because of the impact of that one. And so that's the only one that's out there. Mine is a Chevrolet Silverado.
There you go.
But it has some additional things on there that enhances it. So it's if you see it, you won't see one anywhere else.
Yeah,
with
right.
That piece.
That
But
package,
the Forceman package,
Yeah.
and then when you look at the Forceman package, and I did my research. The Forceman package, the original name was really Special Forces.
Yep.
Special Forces.
Yep.
And when you look at the back of it, and the practical thing that's going on in my life and my family, it all kind of connects.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? With me being in the military.
You're the perfect person.
And some of the assignments that I didn't mention.
Yep.
You know what I mean? The things that are going on now, it's like, wow. When you look at it, it's like, wow. It's just at that point and at that time, that's my dream vehicle. I'm riding it.
That's awesome.
You know what I mean? And it's ride
great.
good. But I got something I got to do first.
What's that?
Right? Because they were wondering what was in his bag.
Oh, no.
Right? And my wife, I did not tell my wife, but she told me this must be for Kevin. Right? And
Fear of a man's heart is his accent. I love it. I love it.
she said that must be for Kevin. So that is for Kevin. You know what I mean?
Awesome.
And it kind of lines out because the heart is the center of all of everything we talked about today. That's the center of our spirit, man. The heart piece.
That's
awesome. It's the main piece. You know.
That's
so
great.
My wife didn't know that. But I guess she did. So
that's awesome, Soloman. I appreciate it. Well, we have a little something for you as well. Just a little thank you for being here. Some hats. I know you might already have a Strosnider hat, but we got you a little something else too. Just a little thank you for being here. We appreciate you so much.
You're welcome. I appreciate it. It's always good to be able to share with the community, especially the military community.
Yeah, absolutely.
To prioritize and help, you know, and it's impactful and it's good. So I really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
And I'm just grateful and I'm thankful.
Well, thank you so much again for being a part of Community Driven and for tuning in and for getting to meet our friend Soloman and hear about all the wonderful things he's doing in our community and ways that he is impacting, and he is continuing that legacy of impacting people for good. If you want to reach out to Soloman, if you need to get in touch with him because you want to help out in that impact, please just reach out to us. We'll make sure you get in touch with him. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you again, Soloman, for all that you do and for your impact in this community. And we'll